What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Little Scale Cars YouTube channel. Today in the review box we have the McLaren W1, new to the Hot Wheels mainline for 2025. This one debuts in G case, but if your area is like mine, you didn't get it till H case because none of the stores figured out how to stock G case. It is what it is, though. We finally got it here, so let's take a closer look at it and see if it is worth adding to your collections. So as always, let's get things started by looking at our casting here. And right out of the gate, I am happy to say that our proportions look pretty solid. Initial images made that nose look like it was obscenely long, and I do think it's a little bit long, but it's probably just something that has to happen to be scaled down, or it could just be that's the way the car looks. Go ahead and kind of compare it there to the real life thing. So yeah, overall, it's pretty solid from that standpoint. So let's go ahead and break the casting down here. Anything that you're going to see painted orange, that is going to be your die-cast metal section, so that is pretty cool. But as you can see, there is quite a bit that is not painted orange. So you have kind of this skirt right here, up through down, up through here, all through this splitter, which is all like detailed and molded in very intricately. There's even little like radiators back there, so done very nicely, poking all the way up through here. And then all this diffuser work and exhaust section, that is all incorporated into the base. So the base is a huge part of this one. You're going to see it a lot more than you typically would. However, this section right here, right through here, and maybe even some of this up front, I can't quite tell. This is all actually a piece of the interior. You can tell because there is a slight difference right here where you can see that these two pieces are not the same. So that's going to be the interior. The majority of it's going to be the base. So the casting is actually engineered in a pretty unique way that you kind of get some of those wild breaks that this car has in a cleaner way, I guess. As for your roof section, it is mostly see-through. Now, this real life car's roof kind of looks like this, so I don't fault it too much. But again, it just looks a little too see-through in my opinion. I don't really like it when they do that. I wish they would have given some texture to the areas that in real life you wouldn't be able to see through. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. For our paint and deco, so you have this really nice kind of McLaren orange, but it's got some metal flake to it, which looks really good and pretty much matches those debut presentation colors that the real life car was shown in. So I think that it was a very solid choice. You then get kind of this area back here with some slight tampo work to kind of give you some contrast, I guess, which looks good. Now, one thing I should mention is that the hood section, you can kind of see how foily the paint is there. Definitely kind of weird and not cool, but doesn't distract too much from the overall look. So for our details, so starting up front here, we get a McLaren logo, and that's absolutely it. So I mentioned that this whole section here, very nicely molded. You know what? The more I pay attention to it, the more this stuff all is a piece of the interior. But never mind, that's for the casting section. Regardless, so you get this McLaren logo. You do not get a headlight tampo, which is a crying shame. And this little vent or whatever it is down here, it's casted in there, but you get no tampo work for it, which is horrendous and truly a bad decision in my opinion. Coming down the sides here, you get these nice wheels. I forget what this wheel is called, but I think it was probably the best choice, especially to have them blacked out like that. Looks good. And then coming to the rear section here, there is no tampo work to speak of once again. A little bit more understandable, a little bit more excusable in this case. We're used to the rear sections not getting full tampo work, and with the headlights or taillights being so small, I don't think anyone really would have had beef with that. Coming up top here, though, we did mention that this is a tampo. I'm pretty sure that these are tampos. And then right here, you get a little McLaren logo on your engine cover on this tampo here. So that's actually kind of cool. But, you know, I think we're supposed to get 2 tampo passes, maybe even 3 on a mainline. So they did one up top to get this stuff done in the McLaren logos. So they could have easily had one more to do that front section. And that looks so much better with it because here's my customized version that I made my own decals for. And, you know, it ain't much, but it's honest work. And they might not be horrendously accurate. And my application job might not be perfect. But, man, does that look so much better. So moving into a roll test, it's a Hot Wheels mainline, so it rolls and it rolls it very nice. That should be no surprise. Putting this one on the scale, it comes out to be 30.23 grams. So despite the heavy use of plastic, intricately detailed throughout the entire casting, and very visible, it actually does come out to be fairly close to the average weight of the most mainlines. Pros and cons, getting started with our pros. So the biggest pro is that this is the first way to get the McLaren W1 in 1/64 scale, and they actually worked very hard on this. The car hasn't even been shown off to the general public for a year yet, I don't think. It's been close to a year, but not quite there. So, you know, very cool. Quickly out there, in your hands, good to go. That leads us into the second pro, which is the actual engineering of the casting. Like, the casting itself is very good. It looks extremely nice, and I think that it has a lot of potential down the road. For our cons, though, there is one that we absolutely need to talk about, and it is obviously going to be that front detailing section. That is abysmal, and that is horrible. And with the lack of tampos that this casting has, I don't think that there is any excuse for that to not have been done. Similar to the McLaren Senna casting when it first debuted, and it didn't have, I think the mainline variants still have never gotten headlights. McLaren should never have signed off on that. That was a mistake. The other con I'm going to mention is that paint job. Right up front here, as you can kind of see, the paint gets kind of foily and weird looking. Now, I have 3 of this car. As you can see, the paint foils on this one, but the paint does not foil, at least not nearly as badly on this one, which I put the decals on. I do have a third one because I originally tried to paint the headlights on, and that didn't end up working out very well. And it has the foiled paint, but not quite as bad as this one. So it is something that affects quite a few of them. For some quick size comparisons, here we have it with some other Hot Wheels McLarens that you might have, with the McLaren Solus GT over there on the left, and the McLaren Senna over here on the right. And here we have it with some premium McLaren offerings in 1/64th, with the McLaren P1 GTR from CM model, and the McLaren F1 GTR from Mini GT. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and find an overall score. The hype level for this one, I'm going to give it a 9.75. I think it is probably one of the more hyped releases for the year so far, up till G-Case at this point. Definitely the highlight from G-Case. It's been the hardest one to find for sure. Execution, I can only give it an 8.5 here. Yeah, definitely not good. The casting and everything is phenomenal. Like, that, everything here is because of that casting. Great job. Done. Very cool engineering. Fantastic. Designed perfectly. But the lack of tampo work, yeah, not cool. Feedback. Showing this one off on the Instagram page, there was a lot of comments, and a lot of them were about the headlights. I actually showed off the one that I put my headlights on, and everyone seemed to like my headlight job, so that was pretty cool. But that means the feedback can only be a 9.2 because, yeah, we shouldn't have been talking about headlights on a release this much. So, when we take these 3 scores, average them out, we will end up with a 9.15 as our overall score, which I still think is a pretty solid score for a mainline, coming in at like $1.25, you know, not the biggest deal to have a few things missing. So the casting came out great for the most part. The proportions, the overall shape, and the design of the casting really look like the W1, and I think that is very, very nice. That being said, though, the deco department did an absolutely horrible job, and that really cannot be said any other way. I'm sorry, it's being a little rough, but it is what it is. Those headlights are atrocious, and that really is kind of a shame because it does draw back, I think, a lot of collectors' excitement for this release. I still say it is absolutely worth buying, especially at that mainline price point. But it does make me more excited to see what the casting can become in the future, because if this is what we're always going to get with the mainlines, I am much more interested in seeing this car go to Silver Series or to Premium, where it will get a proper deco job and really look as good as it could. Alrighty guys, that will wrap up this review. Let me know what your thoughts are on this particular release down in the comments below. And be sure to give this video a like if you haven't done so already. And don't forget to subscribe if you guys are new. And with all that out of the way guys, I will see you in the next video.